The incision is made a little lower than the umbilicus. The vascular fat is trimmed away, so the linea alba can be easily visualized. I do a double grab to raise the linea alba for the stab incision. Keep it safe and raise the muscle high. Keep the scalpel parallel to the body. Raise and extend with scissors. I already have concerns with this spay, as everything wants to bleed. Even though we are through the peritoneum, there is a thin window. Just break through this with your finger. The blood is coming from the subcutaneous fat and also the muscle. To find the uterus, slide down the body wall with all abdominal contents behind your finger. Touch the vertebrae and slide back up with your index finger hooked. Usually the best place is cranial to the bladder, where generally there is just the uterus and colon. Try not to panic over the bleeding. There is a lot of blood, but nothing serious is bleeding. The uterus is quite small in this dog. When any abdominal fat pops out, return it back into the body. I push down to grasp the right ovary with my left hand, pulling with some force, as the ovary is protected by the renal and suspensory ligaments. I transfer the ovary to my right hand and follow down the suspensory to its insertion to the rib and then push down. Do not break the renal ligament which runs direct to the kidney. As you can see, everything continues to bleed. I just concentrate on the next steps of the technique. The technique is designed to protect you and has been adapted from helping new graduates perform over 15,000 bitch spays. I find a clear translucent area in the broad ligament, low down but away from the major vessels. I then make the window, place my ovarian clamp through this and walk the clamp down, rather than force it down. Hold the ovary when you are nudging the clamp down. I am pushing the skin down to check nothing is caught in the ovarian pedicle. I now clamp across the uterus and then separate the uterus, increasing visibility and accessibility. Again, there is blood everywhere and lots of hematomas forming, but stick to the plan. Place a loose Miller's below the clamp, nudge down and tighten. I tend to place a curved clamp through the handle of the ovarian clamp to keep the rotation. Tighten the knot well. We want to make sure there is no chance of a bleeding pedicle. We now release the ovarian pedicle clamp and move closer to the ovary. We don't have much room with this spay. Again, don't panic over the bleeders. Take it a step at a time. Keep the clamp rotated by placing a curved clamp in the handle of the ovarian clamp. Again, make sure your millers is super tight. One of the main advantages of this technique is we can check for bleeding in a safe position. Remove the ovarian clamp, hold the bursa if needed, and check no bleeding. If there is any concern, you just replace the clamp and place another ligature. Once happy, reapply the clamp, clearing the ovary and remove flush with a blade. We have already checked for bleeding, so there is no need for risky holding onto the pedicle after you have cut the ovary off. If you don't check it safely, in the way we have shown you, and choose to check it after ovarian removal, trying to raise a pedicle a loose hold, with blood spurting out, often ends up in disaster. You need to keep everything super safe, as a spay like this can destroy a new vet's confidence. Now for the broad ligament. In a dog like this, you must ligate the broad ligament and not just tear. We locate the uterine vessel and this stays with the uterus. On the other side, we find a clear area and make a window. I usually double clamp and cut between. I was initially thinking surgeons, but as we can run no risks in this dog, I change it to a miller's. So far, I am happy everything is secure, so to find the other part of the uterus, I trace down the uterus, feeling inside for the other side branching off. This can be immediately visible, or several centimeters or inches down, depending on the dog. Now gently feed up the uterus and remember the ovary is the strongest part. Too much tension on the uterus and it will snap. Don't let the bleeding scare you. Again, just stay with the technique. The technique is designed for dogs like this, to keep you safe. To make matters worse, the ovary is tight on this side. Do not pull on the uterus. Push down on the body wall to get down to the ovary and grasp it with your left hand. Now transfer the ovary to your right hand and with your left index slide down as far as you can. Down the suspensory. This side is always thicker and even more so in this dog. The deeper you are, the safer it is. Do not twing and twang the suspensory or this can go very wrong. You want to be at the insertion to the rib, well away from the vessels. First try pushing down. If this doesn't work, hook your finger under and push up, but stay low down. You can see how much more exposure we have from breaking the suspensory correctly. Now we make our window in the broad, in a clear translucent area, well away from the vessels. Now place the ovarian clamp and walk the clamp down, while holding the ovary. Keep some pressure on the clamp but don't click, so you can remove any fat or skin. Nudge it down and then when happy with the position, do 1 to 2 clicks. In a fragile dog like this, the Carmolt clamp is a must. Now apply your 2 clamps and cut between, separating the uterus, improving visibility and accessibility. Loosely form your millers, nuts and down away from the clamp. Apply some rotation to the clamp and tighten the millers. As we release the top clamp, the swab is used to absorb the blood which was trapped by the clamp. The ovary is held and the ovarian clamp moved closer to the ovary. The second millers is formed, nudged down and tightened, using a curved clamp to rotate the ovarian clamp. You can see I have made an error. I have caught the bursa in my second millers. To rectify, I just gently break it, using my forceps. Now the clamps are removed, the bursa held, and I check for signs of any bleeding. The ligatures look good, so the clamp was replaced and the ovary removed. Now make the window in the broad ligament. The uterine vessel stays with the uterus. Pierce the window in a translucent area, double clamp, cut, and then ligated. This uterus is very fragile. From experience, I know there is a high chance a miller's will cheese wire cut through the uterus. This is the reason why crush beds are not in the technique. And we always start with a surgeon's on the uterus. A surgeon's knot is less likely to cut through when compared to a miller's. To reduce the chance of cut through even more, is to change suture material to catgut, or stay with PGA and go for a larger size, for metric, size 1. I would definitely avoid a monofilament. I also don't go full tension. In this case, I went for 4 metric PGA. I am still cautious about a miller's at this point, so I opt for another surgeon's. And to go a little tighter with this one, again 4 metric PGA. So now we have 2 ligatures on the body, but my concerns are whether they are tight enough. So far I have been really cautious, so I put 1 more surgeon's, going as tight as I can. I place 1 on each horn. So now I feel quite happy with the closure, possibly a little excessive, but safe. Now I am going to place a miller's on each horn, and as suspected they slice straight through the uterus. I still continue with them, because they will ligate the uterine vessels. Check for bleeding, nudge back in and check again. Occasionally a vessel doesn't bleed, because it is trapped over the muscle, and when released from the muscle it starts bleeding. I swab the abdomen to check everything is okay, and my swab comes back with very little blood. When you swab, you only have to go down once and not at each ovary and uterine stump. If she was bleeding out, the blood would settle in all the abdominal cavity. So as long as the swab goes deep, it doesn't matter on the location. I decide to close with a PGA simple interrupted, so I can hopefully catch some of the bleeders. As a charity, we don't have a full range of sutures. Sometimes we use catgut for the muscle closure. Even though not popular, catgut is really good when you want to control tension. And the knot security is excellent. We have had no problems using it. I place 1 at each end, as access is easier at this stage. It's better than struggling at the end, to get exposure of a muscle cut that underruns the skin. I use this simple interrupted as an anchor for the fat. This will help reduce the dead space and risk of seroma formation. My first pass in the fat is deep superficial, so it doesn't drag the knot up. I close the fat with a continuous pattern. Here I pass through the fat and then take a bite of the muscle. This will also reduce the dead space, chance of seroma formation, and stop superficial bleeding. I finish with the surgeons and spread the loop to tighten the layer. To anchor the intradermal layer, I take a subdermal grab of each side and tie off. I often place it near the knot, so the knot gets good coverage. Snip the tail short, so it can't poke up through the skin. I then take an subdermal bite but exit at the intradermal layer at the end point. To bury the knot, I pass the needle just cranially, in front of the knot. I make sure the needle passes easily. If not, go again. If the needle passes easily, it is a sign the knot will follow and bury easily. At the end, pull gently on the suture material and bury by pushing the skin over the knot with forceps. Always make sure the needle exits some distance away, especially if using an Abdominal.